Coming up tonight on YCN News, Gregory Philo recovers from his wounds after being shot in the Bennington Police Station lobby. Vermont becomes the first state in the nation to adopt a bill requiring food manufacturers to list the presence of genetically modified organisms. And New Hampshire House members approve a bill to raise the tax on gasoline in the state. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth-Lake-Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening, and welcome to this Thursday edition of YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. The 42-year-old man shot inside the lobby of the Bennington Police Department is recovering from his wounds. Gregory Philo of Bennington, Vermont, was shot by a police officer after Philo ignored an order to stand still and drop a knife he was allegedly holding. A police dispatcher believed Philo was going to stab with a knife a friend who walked into the police headquarters lobby Tuesday night. The dispatcher alerted police that Philo may have a knife and that the knife could be used to hurt the other person in the lobby. Several officers entered the lobby, one officer ordering Philo to drop the knife. Police say Philo approached the officers. Philo was shot, yet it is not known what part of the body. The other officers began first aid on Philo. The other person with Philo was not injured, police say in a press release. Vermont State Police were contacted by the Bennington Police after the shooting. The officer who shot Philo is on paid administrative leave per department protocol. The officer's name has not been released to the public. The Bennington County State's attorney also is investigating this incident. Charges could be filed against Philo, who remains in stable condition at the New York State's Albany Medical Center. Vermont is the first state in the nation to adopt a bill requiring food manufacturers to list the presence of any genetically modified organisms. Governor Peter Shumlin is expected to sign this bill into law upon receipt. However, Vermont Attorney General William Sorrell says food manufacturers could sue the state over the bill's requirements. And it is too early to tell if the cost of goods will rise with the cost to add new product labeling. Even so, among other state officials, passage of the bill is receiving praise. Vermont Senate President Pro Tem John Campbell says it is important that the residents know exactly what is being added to the food they eat. U.S. Senator from Vermont Bernie Sanders says he will continue his work in Washington to pass national legislation regarding labeling of food products, particularly those items that contain genetically modified organisms. It's official. The tax on gasoline in New Hampshire is rising. House members on Wednesday approved the bill, which originated in the Senate earlier this year. The House vote on SB 367 was 193 in favor, 141 against. The vote means the tax on gasoline and diesel fuels sold in New Hampshire will increase 4.2 cents per gallon. This is the first time since 1991 that the fuel tax will rise. Half of the money from the bill will aid in road repair. That's where the first 2 cents of the approximate 4-cent increase will go. Money collected from the other 2-cent rise will be used to complete payments for the widening of I-93 in the state's southern tier. SB 367 also has other provisions, namely eliminating some tolls along the Everett Turnpike in the town of Merrimack. House members from Sullivan County voting in favor of the gasoline tax increase fall along bipartisan lines. Democrats John Cloutier, Ray Gagnon, Suzanne Gottling, Virginia Irwin, Andrew O'Hearn, Andrew Schmidt, Cynthia Sweeney, and Linda Tanner voted for the tax increase. Republicans James Grenier, Joe Osgood, Skip Rollins, and Steve Smith voted against the 4-cent raise. One representative, Republican Benjamin Lefebvre, did not vote or was excused from voting, the state's website lists.
The good folks at H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating Oils want you to know that their philosophy is simple. Wow 'em with our service. Fuel delivery when you need it and how you want it. Prepay or a 10-month budget plan puts you in control and provides automatic delivery. Or just call when you're at a quarter of a tank. Pay cash and get an additional 10 cents per gallon off.
Wow 'em with service. It's the H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating Oil's way of doing business.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Princes and princesses will be dancing across the stage this weekend at the Lebanon Opera House in the City Center's ballet production of Sleeping Beauty. Let's hear from the executive director and resident choreographer to learn more about the beautiful ballet coming up this Saturday.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Henderson, the resident choreographer of City Center Ballet, and I am thrilled to be presenting The Sleeping Beauty this coming Saturday and Sunday at the Lebanon Opera House. I've had this job for 7 years. This is the first time I put on this particular ballet, and it's been such a ride. It's a huge production, and to be able to adapt to our dancers as well as bringing in professionals and experiencing that whole creative process has been really wonderful.
I'm Linda Kopp. I'm one of the founding directors of City Center Ballet. We formed in 1999, so we formed the ballet company as a nonprofit, provide a venue for these young people who are extremely dedicated. They're passionate about their dancing. When they're 10 years old and they decide, this is what I want to do, the decision is, this is where I'm going to be. One of the important things about The Sleeping Beauty is that this is a classic. It's one of the 3 great Russian ballets. When you have a company like City Center Ballet performing it, which is primarily students, you're going to see the rising stars, artists who are in the making. In front of this is going to perform 17 classical tutus that have been made by Elizabeth Lurie and a group of volunteers that have just been sewing and sewing and sewing. Every tutu takes approximately 100 hours to construct, and they are just decked with all hand-sewn-on jewels. Their tiaras are out of this world. They're a dancer's dream to want to put on.
It's been a joy putting such a classic ballet together with this incredibly talented group of young people. They're incredibly driven to rise to the challenge of the original Petipa choreography, which is not an easy feat by any stretch of the imagination. I hope the community comes out and supports them. They deserve it.
Sleeping Beauty is a classic, not because of the Disney film, but because of the classical ballet and magical story that come together and give life to a timeless production. City Center Ballet will have 2 shows this weekend, one on Saturday, April 26th at 7 p.m. and the last on Sunday, April 27th at 1. To get your tickets, go to LebanonOperaHouse.org or call 603-448-0400. It remains to be seen if defendant Robert Dellinger appears next month for his arraignment in Grafton County Superior Court on charges relating to a car crash in December. The 53-year-old Dellinger of Sunapee remains in jail, held without bail. Police say in a suicide attempt along I-89 near Lebanon, the causal reaction of Dellinger's driving off the highway resulted in his truck landing on top of a car driven in the other direction by a Vermont couple. A grand jury indicted Dellinger last week on the charges, which include 2 second-degree murder charges. As a result of the crash, a fetus the woman was carrying also died. Law officials added a charge of second-degree assault to the 2 other charges. New Hampshire does not now have a state law that would make the death of a fetus an additional crime. Dellinger's arraignment on the felony charges is scheduled for May 12th at 8:30 a.m.
Warner's Main Street Bookends has been your community bookstore since 1998 and voted Yankee Magazine's Editor's Pick Must-See Bookstore. Bookends is a full-service store offering a huge selection of current fiction and nonfiction with children's book selection, toys, and games. Bookends has a huge card selection for all occasions, along with Main Street Marketplace and Gallery in the attached barn. 100% solar, Main Street Bookends of Warner is building your community one book at a time.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next 5 days, and he'll take a look at some local high school sports.
Thanks, Rose. Tomorrow will be sunny with highs in the 60s and a low of 39 degrees. Saturday will bring some light rain and temperatures will drop to a high of 51 degrees with lows in the 30s. Sunday will be partly cloudy with highs in the 50s and a low of 34 degrees. Monday and Tuesday highs will be in the mid-50s and lows in the upper 30s. Here's a glimpse of the weather from our northeastern and national radar maps. Now let's see what's coming up on our community calendar. This Saturday, Norwich, Vermont and New London, New Hampshire are holding farmers markets at 10 a.m. In Bellows Falls, Vermont, the Rockingham Free Public Library will have a spring book sale at 7 p.m. Saturday. Don't forget the City Center Ballet has their opening performance of Sleeping Beauty on Saturday at the Lebanon Opera House beginning at 7 p.m. Remember, you can submit local events from your community by sending them to news@ycnnow.com. And now it's time to check up on yesterday's high school sports results. In boys basketball, Lebanon made a victory against John Stark 4-3. It was a close one, but Lebanon just managed to pull through. Newport High School wasn't so lucky. They lost to Fall Mountain 1-9 last night. Stevens achieved a great win yesterday over Mascoma. They triumphed 5-1. Lastly, in boys baseball, Sunapee defeated Wilton Lynborough 4-1 yesterday. One of our local schools made a great win in softball. The Stevens Cardinals girls softball team won 27-8 against the Mascoma Royals. Congratulations to our local teams. There are some baseball and softball games to look out for tomorrow. The Stevens Cardinals baseball team will play at Monadnock High School at 4 p.m. Hanover High School will host Kingswood tomorrow in softball with the first pitch at 4:30 p.m. The Stevens Cardinals softball team will also face off with their opponent at Monadnock High School at 4 p.m.